What is going on, gentlemen, and welcome back to Knights of the Square Tablet. It has been a while since we've casted, and we have some new faces with us. So, Warpath, thank you for joining me, brother. Another Chivalry 2 content creator.
Thank you guys for having me, guys. Pleasure to be on.
And we finally got on webcam in the flesh. He does exist, the most knowledgeable person about Chivalry 2, banned from Steam, Discord, Reddit, anywhere you name it. The legend Sunder. What is going on, brother?
Not much, and I'm pretty sure Gimmick knows more, but he doesn't play at the same level.
Oh man, shots fired already, coming out spicy here.
He just doesn't
So,
play the game as much. So
oh man. So, gentlemen, we have some non-chivalry 2 related news finally, in that we have another game that has it's gonna be coming out, and this is probably one of the first times it doesn't look dog shit.
It looks amazing. I mean, it looks like it's going to be potentially medieval game of the year, possibly. I mean, if we can get it actually released, I think early, what do they say, 2027?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit, but we have Ad Mortem coming, and medieval slasher. It's gonna take a lot of inspiration from the original Chivalry and Mordhau. So we're gonna dive into a bit today what we think of the game from what we've seen, what the devs have shown us so far, and we're also gonna talk about what we think of the what they've told us, how the game mode's gonna work, how's the combat gonna be, and how is a more competitive environment going to work in a medieval slasher. So it's going to be good times, guys, and we're going to try to get you guys all the information that we can. And we just got some good news too, that the next cast we do about Ad Mortem, Jairu from the developer team will be joining us. So get in the comments and give us some questions for Jairu. What did you guys think of? They just came out with a dev blog that answered a lot of questions, and it really renewed my faith in the slasher genre being able to come out with something decent. But I want to hear about what you guys thought.
yeah, I've got some practical concerns, but it definitely looks like a game I'd actually consider buying, which I can't say for the other games.
Warpath, what did you think, brother?
Yeah, man, when you like break down that dev video, everything from like the swing system to the attack and combos, I mean, hitting armor versus flesh, I mean, there's just, you can tell they're putting a lot of time into the game, and that I think is going to make a big, big difference when they actually launch the game. If, like I said, any improvements, things that we potentially might bring up tonight, they kind of critique and fix and things of that nature. But I mean, you can tell they're putting a lot of time into the game.
What I loved about it too is they didn't just show trailers with CGI and stuff. They came out and started just batting out like information of what the game's gonna play
Hmm.
like, and that shows a little bit more confidence and a level of planning that there's a product actually that's being made and coming. It's not just random stuff thrown together, and we're gonna see how it works. Which some of the other slashers we've seen come out in the last few years kind of felt a little bit like that.
Hmm. They definitely missed the mark.
Yeah, yeah. So Sunder, I gotta ask you, what do you think of how the game looked?
Yeah, so visually, it's hard to say too much. The animations I saw so far looked pretty readable. As long as, well, of course that's gonna hold up until someone does something funky with them. But that's what testing's for. So, and then overall visually, it looked reasonably clear. And I'd have to like see what the actual in-game settings are like, what you're running around to actually play the game before I can really give a proper measure of that.
Now, Sunder was probably the worst person for me to ask this, because if you guys seen the Chivalry 2 graphics he uses, it is looks like a Game Boy. But
Look, you got me. I made the RuneScape config for Shiv 2.
I thought this was the first time I felt like a game when I watched it that looks like a next gen game. It looks graphically better than Chivalry 2 or Mordhau to me. I don't know, Warpath, what you're thinking about that.
Yeah, same thing, and I think there's always been this big debate with even like where you bring up Shiver, right? This whole third person, first person thing, like that kind of stood out to me as well, right? They're saying what you see in third person is what you're actually going to see in first person, which is a big thing, especially with like with the ghost hitting and things of that nature. So, I liked it. I mean, it almost looked like a cinematic 4K movie type of thing, how they kind of presented everything.
Yeah, no, and the game is Unreal Engine 5,
Yep.
which I know people always complain about like performance and stuff of that. So I'm that's not really my expertise area. Sunder, is it gonna run like ass, or is it gonna be all right?
Depends on how they use the features. The specifically Lumen. was the biggest like Lumen and Nanite are the biggest problems with Unreal Engine 5, but depending on what fork of Unreal Engine 5 they're using, it's entirely possible they're not using the features in a way that are going to cripple the game. You can make Unreal Engine 5 games that would run reasonably as long as you make same compromises on like a 3060. Like the it doesn't look like Ad Mortem's asking crazy hardware or anything, and uh, Jiro will probably stay more when he's asked. But because you can't really tell that much from the visuals there, because Unreal Engine can make a game that looks like shit run even worse, like Portal
Yeah.
4 did.
Okay, yeah, and I thought it looked great, so I'm excited for that. And I thought again the animations, as you touched on earlier, they looked really clean and easy to read from what we saw too, which is so important for the genre moving forward if you can actually tell what's going on.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about a little bit of the combat of what they've shown so far. That was a big part of their dev blog, is getting out there how the combat system is gonna be. And I know this is gonna be more mostly Sunder territory, but my vibe when I was reading it is they want to take the stuff that's really good about Mordhau, how responsive that is, how good it feels, how clean it feels, and they want to get rid of a lot of the jank that people complain about. Is that basically what you're seeing there?
Yeah, so they specifically addressed the back swinging. So like they get to hear you hit with this part of release. Like they wanted to get rid of that, and it looks like they did that successfully. It looks like there's not a way to like get stamina back, at least from what they've shown so far, which is important because it makes it so fights actually end. Because that's a problem in Shiv. You'll just have fights that go for 5 minutes, and people are just counter rallying back and forth, wasting everyone's time, and it's a horrible experience. And in Mordhau, people could just run from the fight and then regen stam, so that wasn't great. Um,
Yeah, and I think if it's gonna be, well, I'll touch on this more later, but if it's gonna be a more fast-paced competitive game, I don't think you want a 5-minute fight in the middle of capturing objectives, right? You want the fights to be kind of quick, get them over, people respawn, and then take two with the pushes and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm seeing kind of the same that you're seeing, and I think what I found interesting, it seems like there's gonna be no counter system like there is in Chivalry 2, or no what is it, chamber system like
yeah,
there's gonna be in
chambering in
Mordhau.
Mordhau.
Yeah, which I don't know. How do you feel about that?
Those were the stam recoup systems, so I actually think it's good they're gone because you still have the ability to take your timings back with off of riposte. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll get it. You'll get your initiative as long as they have to give you the initiative, which is where my concerns about fainting come up. Because one of the things that fundamentally makes fainting not feel good from a player perspective is if someone has a faster weapon, they can just refuse to give you the hit on your block. If they never give you the hit and they stay at a disengage range, they can essentially drag things on forever and force you to pretend you can do something if you're on a much slower weapon.
Yeah, the fainting thing, I understand being kind of contentious. I always found my time playing Mordhau, my least favorite play style to play against was the people who would just constantly jiggle the shoulder the whole time,
Yeah, I mean
right?
the other thing is just like the animation of it. Like if you're gonna swing, it's you can't like pull back over and over again. Uh, and like you see, it takes me time to bring this back after I yank it back. Like
Yeah.
cancels, feints, they just don't have enough recovery time, and I think they really should be proportional to how much of the windup you go into. Because otherwise, that my tongue tied a little bit, but I think they intend for the bash to be used to punish cancels, and if everything essentially just devolves into feint to jab spam, that was one of the least fun parts of Chivalry 2. I'd really just rather not. Like I'd rather be
Yeah.
able to punish feints with weapon swings, because one of the things is like it's natural to swing and morph into something else. It's not natural to swing and pull back. Like my elbow doesn't feel amazing after that too.
Yeah, no, I think you make a good point. I know in Mordhau it felt very lightweight, like the shoulder was just moving, which wouldn't be how you probably be canceling a weapon strike.
yeah, like I was pulling my torso back, I was pulling my arms back, like the whole body has to shift. Like you when you're talking like the startup of a weapon, you need the whole body to be talking so people can actually read it. That's also one of the concerns I have with the mouse-based torso movement is the ability to hide weapon tells. Because if you're leaning down like this and you're just like you saw plenty of that in Mordhau, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 100%. Yeah. Warpath, did you ever do Mordhau?
Um, yes, for for two whole games.
For
But
two whole
but again, this
games.
this is this is like again, I was 2 years into Chivalry, and I generally called it the Minecraft of Chivalry. Like I just was like, who is playing this? Why? I did love the customization and things of that nature, but I was like, yeah, this is just not for me.
Did you play on console or
On PC.
on PC?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but I've
Okay.
been a
Yeah.
bit. It might have been the controller thing versus like the keyboard and mouse thing, and I've been, controller for 15
Yeah.
years,
I knew
so
you were a controller
yeah,
guy.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it just was like the countering system was off to me, or I don't want to say off, right? But that was just what their
Yeah.
system was, and I'm like, yeah, this is just not what I thought it was
Well,
gonna be.
Mordhau wasn't made originally to be played on a controller
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all.
Also, the
So
timing
and
windows are significantly more strict than Shiv for basically everything. So you feel it a lot more when you have moderate levels of ping.
Yeah, it was
yeah.
it was pretty rough. But like,
Yeah, no, more how I would say is quite a bit more fast paced in everything that they do than Chivalry. Like the animations, the blocks have to be quicker. Even if you do morph, it has to be faster than you would do in Chivalry, where you can kind of wait and hold it a little bit. It definitely will test the reactions a little bit more. I don't know how people can play it on a controller against PC people. That just sounds,
it was rough.
especially yeah. so
You just don't get to do the same manipulations that people on a mouse and keyboard can do. Like if you try to use a gyro to do it, it'll eventually pick up some momentum. It'll stop letting you get back and forth, and you'll just get stuck.
I do like
yeah,
the
no, 100%.
attack type and combos for like each different weapon. That was a big thing you could hear that they stressed about. Each weapon is gonna do like a slightly different amount of damage, or this one does more. Yeah,
Yes.
that was like a big thing you could tell they stressed in the
Yeah,
most recent
I
dev
really
video.
like that they said that they talked about how each weapon you use is going to have a very different play style, maybe
Mhm.
different animations, different specials. I thought that was pretty good because I think that's you want the kind of skill to come from the knowledge of understanding the weapons and the matchups, more than I would like the skill to come from doing jank, which it seems like I got the vibe listening to them that they want the skill to come from understanding the mechanics that are intended in the game, and they had a really what I love. Did you guys see what they put on like their footwork and their character movement? I really love that section because I feel like it really is a place to expand the skill gap, but do it in a way that people can understand as far as getting out of the way of strikes, ducking strikes. And did you see that you can move your torso in the game to avoid shots, kind of like how in Darker Darker you could? I thought that was sick.
Yeah, the light classes you're faster, more agile, and the heavy classes you're a little bit slower, but you're also harder to knock down. So you can tell, like I said, they're really putting some some time into this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, they don't want to see five naked malls.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and it seems like I kind of we'll get into that more a little bit later, but I kind of like the class structure that they have. I think it could work, and they also now I misinterpreted their dev blog a little bit. I thought from what they were saying in it that the when they were talking about different armor types and swords not doing good damage against heavy plate, I thought that that meant every piece of armor had kind of a hitbox on the body, but what it actually meant was that the different classes will take different amount of damage. But the devs actually, after I came out with my video, messaged me and they were going to talk about adding the plate system like I interpreted it into the game. So we'll see.
Yeah,
So
'cause it also
responsive
sounds like
devs
they're
already.
pointing out locational damage too, like hitting the neck where it's exposed is
Yep.
supposed to be different from hitting the armor.
Well, that's how I understood it too, and I think that's not the case from what they were saying. But they're trying now to add it in, or gonna look into adding it in because they're like, oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. Which to me that would be sick if it was because could you imagine if the skill didn't come only about like landing shots in a medieval slasher anymore? Like we've played enough Shiv and Mordhau all like you do some stupid shit but you're landing on someone's foot or their hand, right? But there's no difference if you actually like really aim to strike and say, hey, I'm not going to do stupid shit, or I'm not going to do this super slow drag because it's going to hit with no force, but
Because
I'm going to
you
actually
you
try
don't
to
do a
get a person to vital.
ooh, and I tap your toe.
Exactly, exactly. Like, should that really be worth as much as a clean shot to the
the
jugular?
the
I'd say
neck or
no.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that like, that would be something that we haven't seen in the genre either, and then people could prioritize kind of how they're going to protect themselves.
Yeah, it's like
I didn't play any of the Mountain Blade games, but I believe they had some momentum-based swings. The way they implement
Mountain
caused
Blade,
problems, but the like it was theoretically there.
I play a lot of Mountain Blade. They take speed into account,
Yeah.
and that's basically like mounted speed, foot speed. It takes into that the momentum. I think probably the closest you're going to get to something like you were talking about is Half Sword, if you've ever played that, where everything is literally what you see is what you get and what it protects.
Yeah, physics.
Which I would
Like
love to see
yeah, because that's a
something like
3D
that, but
physics-based
that's a different
game, and you got
topic.
the top-down with Exanima, which essentially does the same level of simulation as Half Sword, but it's top-down, so you can't tell as much.
Yes, yes. All right. So anyway, uh, with Ad Mortem, we're gonna have a different game mode than we've seen before, and I know people will start crying when I say this, but it's not gonna be 32 versus 32 in Castle Sieges. Uh, so my understanding is that there is going to be two main modes for PvP. There's going to be a 5v5 competitive mode, and then you're going to have a 10v10 casual mode. What do we think, gents?
I think it's perfect. I mean, when you really think about like your five best versus my five best, or even like the casual 10 on 10, I think it's perfect.
I think they've got some major map design difficulties because if you want to have the same mode as you have in the 10v10, how are you going to make sure a map that was appropriately sized and populated for 10v10 is going to also be a comfortable mode for 5v5? Because I think if all they do is they make it 5v5 LTS, it's just going to be boring. You're just death matching. Whereas if you get a 5v5 objective based mode, that definitely feels a lot better. Um, of course, it would be a lot harder if they expanded it to 10v10 comp as well, because are you going to get 10 players? Um, I guess like if you random queue, kind of okay, but like if you're trying to make a team, are you really making a 10-player team? Like I played Team Fortress 2. Highlander teams were a disaster. One my favorite one died because it had a cheating sniper and four ringers every match out of 9 players. So we basically didn't have 5 consistent players.
Hmm. See, when you put it in that perspective, yeah, when you put it in
Yeah.
that perspective, that actually changes the whole thing. Yeah.
I think 10's tough if you're going with a set group. I think 10's tough even for casual solo queue games. I think traditionally the games that have strong solo queues is League of Legends, Counter Strike, Valorant, Overwatch. They're all in that 5 or 6 player range. So I think that there's definitely a point of like it's kind of the sweet spot. And I was also encouraged by when they, if you look through their website and stuff, when they talked about the modes or just stuff the devs have said. When I first heard about the game, I thought they were just taking LTS and making competitive LTS, and I was like, the game's dead in the water then, because you're taking the mode that is traditionally the least popular in Mordhau and Chivalry 2, and you're catering the game to the amount of players that is the minority, which is the competitive community. And I was like, oh, there's no chance. But once I heard that it's going to be more of a Overwatchy Marvel Rivals type objective based feel, I was like, you know what? I can kind of see how this could be kind of fun, and it might be something that we haven't seen yet. And I'm still cautiously optimistic because I know the 32 versus 32 people are going to be kind of alienated. But I think they could maybe bring in some new people to the genre with that kind of hyper focus on competition and Overwatchy vibe.
Yeah, I think my favorite 2CP style of format was the Paladin Siege format. So you got like a central point. Once you've capped it, so you've won mid, you get the cart and you get to push it towards their side, or they push it towards your side, and you essentially have a payload after that. And and then you play to a certain number of points. You have to win a mid to actually win the game, so the other team can always come back.
Yeah, I don't know what the modes are gonna look like. I just know that it's not straight up. It's not straight up like LTS or Team Deathmatch.
Yeah, because it would be hard to make full-on team objective maps for 5v5, but
I don't think you
there's good
could,
tried
right?
and
Yeah,
true modes like
yeah. I think if you're playing a 5v5 mode, you move completely away from like the chaos of 32 versus 32, and you all in on like winning being the objective, right? Like in 5v5 Marvel Rivals, Overwatch, Counter Strike, the objective in those games is not to farm your KDA, it's to win pretty much, right? So I think that's going to be the focus here, and I think that's why it's going to be cool. I don't think 5v5 team objective could work. Period.
Yeah, it's the same reason why like stopwatch payload is probably my favorite mode from Team Fortress 2, and every single good 2CP mode essentially takes a payload element, because like being able to win a team fight and move the objective, or even lose the team fight but still move the objective, is like a very valuable thing to be able to prioritize compared to just I can hit you
Yeah.
better.
And it puts you against the clock too, and that's so you start feeling the pressure, it gets the intensity up, and I think that's what sometimes games like Chivalry or Mordhau lack is there's no real intensity. Do we really care if we win a public match in Shiv? Not too much, right? Like there's no real urgency to it. But I find a lot of the games that people stick with, they get emotional responses from you in some way, shape, or form. So whether it's something like Escape from Tarkov, where you have a high of taking someone's stuff and extracting, or you have the low of I just got head eyes 3 seconds in a raid and lost all my shit. Like, right? And I feel like the same thing with something like Counter Strike or Valorant too. Getting the wins is great. Moving up the elos, League of Legends, all that stuff. Shiv games like Shiv or Battlefield, they don't necessarily hold players as long because I feel like the reason to continue playing and get those emotional responses isn't as high.
Yeah, the intensity of the mode also clarifies the gameplay loop a lot, because you end up having to take deliberate team fights. You end up having to act based on your team resources. You can't do it in 32v32 or even 20v20 very well, which is one of the problems I have with Shiv Team Objective. Is managing your class skills is just like not really a thing that even like really good teams do a great job of. Whereas like in a 5v5, a 10v10, you can very well take a fight based on, oh, all 10 of us have rage. It's not an I win button, but it's a significant advantage in the fight. Which is the other thing I liked when Paladins was still a good game, was the ults were more enhance and not win. So you could outplay
Yeah,
ults. And
I
and
was
it
I
sounds
was
like they want
never a
the same
fan
thing
of
from
the
Rage,
yeah.
is outplay Rage.
I was never a fan of the Overwatch. Everyone hold your ults, pop them all at once, and then win the game. So I definitely like that, and it does look like they're so they do have the rage system that you build up, I guess, by performing actions through the round, and then you do have some sort of ultimate ability. From the videos, it looked like they were just like extremely like heavy attacks.
Yeah,
I
almost
didn't
like
see anything that was too
yeah,
crazy.
like a special, like a Warhammer special. That's what, like
Yeah, that's
one
what
of
it
their
looks
clips. It
like.
literally looked like a Warhammer special. I was like, oh yeah, that's the you get it when you block, you earn rage. There's a bunch of different things that they said you build rage, but one of the attacks it literally looked like a Warhammer special coming over, and you see the dude's kind of head kind of explode. So
The pistol shot reminded me of I used to play Warhammer Online many years ago, the Witch Hunter class. But I kind of like the pistol shot too. I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think they even showed some of the worthwhile counterplay there, because like the Warhammer overhead was
Seemed
so
you could still
low,
parry
you
it.
might be able to just bash it. Whereas like the pistol shot was like a bash and then a shot. So if you're out of range of the bash, they mentioned you can block guns, you can block bullets.
Mm-hmm.
the bullets,
You
yep.
time your block
Yeah.
properly, and they've used their rage at a bad time when they didn't actually have an issue, they didn't have an opening, then they've wasted their rage and you're ahead in the fight. Maybe it does a lot of stam damage and they're technically still ahead for having the rage, but it's a more even fight after that.
Yeah. 100%. The mechanics look really cool, man. What they showed, you can tell they put so much thought into what they've done so far. And what's always impressed me about them, even before they showed stuff, if you look everything that they do, the development team is quality. Their website, top notch. You see any of the concept art that they've done, you can tell they got legitimately good artists to make it. It's not just like indie slop thrown together, and we're gonna see if the game turns out being good. Everything seems quality, right? Just top to bottom. So that's what that makes me excited, man. So the big question I got for you guys, I think this is always the question that we have when we're talking about medieval slasher games. Do we think a product like this will be able to hold an audience over any sort of extended period of time?
If Oh, well, I kind of have like the clarification things, like what are the modes actually going to be? Like what is going to be retaining the people? Like what is going to be the competitive nature side of things? That's kind of like where I think everybody's going to kind of figure out what is going to actually bring me back to the game over and over. Like, hey, I actually want to get up in the morning and go play this game because of X or Y or Z type of thing. So it's tough to say right now.
Yeah, and they'll have to actually allow us to experience the online combat loop because they talk a lot about making the actual hitboxes more accurate. So I'm not just drifting a box out here and getting hit over where it's just floating. But even if it's that accurate, they're still going to have to contend with normal networking. Like you cannot avoid having some level of desync when you have an online game. You are always either behind or ahead depending on how things are resolved. So you will be hit. So they specifically mentioned getting rid of phantom range. That was definitely a problem in Shiv because the hitboxes were garbage. The battle axe, for example, has head width down the whole thing. It's a rectangle. So that was just really really bad design.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, the netcode was also garbage.
Yep.
But if you have good netcode and you have good hitboxes, like things are going to feel a lot better. Like essentially everything about the game looks like it can reasonably be better than Mordhau, and and from a design standpoint, it's clearly better than Mordhau. And it's and like I think if Shiv 2 is like an equally refined game, maybe we start having arguments about which combat system is actually clearly 100% better. Maybe there's back and forths there. I think Shiv 2 has to handle its stam recoup problem, but like there's a lot of good for Ad Mortem. Like the actual combat itself will also have to hold up regardless of what the modes are.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I would say. If you want to replace Mordhau, you have to do Mordhau better than Mordhau. Same with Chivalry, right? No one is gonna just go to the new game that's worse than the one that has come out, which has been a big sticking point for a lot of the slashers that have come out in the last year or so. Is why would I play that over Mordhau? But I actually think I know Sunder speaks a lot for the competitive community, and all the ghosting and the hitboxes is definitely a huge thing for them, but they're a minority. I would say the average player has no idea what the hitboxes are like in Chivalry 2, and they will very rarely notice unless it's extreme minor desync or minor network issues, right? Like your casual player has no clue what is going on.
They're just
So
swinging. They're just
yeah,
swinging.
they're just swinging and having a good time, right?
Well, that's
Like
that's kind of the thing is if those things
so
are happening, they're doing things and it feels like it's not working. They don't understand why. They just know
okay.
stuff's not working.
I think you bring a big point where you just said that they don't understand why, and I think that to me the biggest point of it's not that slashers can't work; it's that players need to be able to understand what is going on, which I know in Mordhau especially is not the case for any sort of new player, and in Chivalry 2, even if someone who's new to the game goes against someone who's a sweat lord, they don't know what's going
If,
on.
if
So
someone
I
who's new
think
at the game goes against someone else who's new at the game, they also don't know what's going on because the initiative is so garbage in Chivalry
yes.
too. Like,
They're hitting their team. They're hitting their teammates, trying to figure out why they're getting
Yes,
mo kicked.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that is true. That is true.
yeah, they're,
But
they're trying to figure out why. If I spam slash with longsword, I do better than when I spam slash with greatsword. Why is
mhm.
that?
Yeah, no, it's a good point there, and I think finding players who are more casual and keeping them in the game is always going to be ultimately the thing that makes these games successful or not. But I'm cautiously optimistic about this because I feel like we've been throwing the same shit at the wall with melee slashers, hoping it sticks. Right? Like we just want people want mass medieval battles, right? And that's usually the selling point. We know there is the people who want the dueling scene, but that's a very small minority of people. But I think like the trying something different here, it could maybe pull in some of those more competitive people who like games like Marvel Rivals and they play the game like, oh man, I got put in bronze or whatever,
Yep.
and then they stick to it because they want to improve. I'm actually cautiously optimistic to see how it goes here, and I think, well, I don't know. I think there's a chance
I don't know.
that
I think
that
more than even the mass medieval combat, people just want to have the visceral weapon swinging combat in general. because that's something that's just like lacking. Because in
Yeah.
Shiv also you're punished so hard for being in first person, because that comes back to one of the things that Ad Mortem is obviously doing right, is you have worldview models for both first person and third person.
Thank God,
Yeah,
right?
and
Thank
it
God.
looks like they have much less obstructive weapon view models too. Like you go in Shiv 2, you get the Highland sword. It's just like where am I looking? Where am I looking?
To me, it makes no sense why the weapons are held in different spots in both and shit. Like, how is that a design decision that even makes it past like the room where they talk about shit, right? Like,
It's even the
how does that make it into
transitions
game?
from third person and first person when you
Well,
doing feints and counters, like even those are different. And actually, I didn't realize that until last year. Somebody told me like if you go in first person and you do a counter feint, it actually is a different type of systematical movement. And I'm like, I didn't know this. Like,
when when I go in the photo mode, when I'm taking thumbnails and stuff, if I stay in first person on accident, I don't have a head actually
yeah.
on the character
Yeah, you can
at
actually
all.
look at that if you're in the start of a round like an LTS. If you flourish, you can turn around while you're in fixed cam and see your headless body.
What? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, gents, what do we think are going to be? Are there any potential problems you see with what they've shown so far?
I think I mentioned most of mine from a combat standpoint, other than third person. I think no matter what they do, third person will always be overpowered, will always reduce your immersion, and will always repulse the casual player base. I think it is a bad decision to have third person in a melee game, and you need to figure out a
Agreed.
different way to handle motion sickness issues. There has to be another way. It is just bad to have third person. Screw all of the people who are like, "Oh, I must have third person. It's so much better."
Preach, baby, preach.
If everyone's first person and they have the proper turn caps and the manipulation isn't like completely game ruining, like they made it so you can't stop your drag midway and then go. Like they've done so much to make the game a lot more legible. If it's more body fainting, you especially want to be able to be in first person, see close up what the other person's doing. Like there's just so many reasons. It's just like a better experience to be in first person, even if it's a less powerful gameplay style. And I think every time a melee slasher has third person is a total mistake. And I say this playing Chivalry 2 exclusively in third person, basically.
I was gonna say the same thing. I was
See,
like, I don't know if I
some
should say it. I'm a third person player.
we can't all be first person chads, huh? You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Warpath, do you see any potential issues?
Yeah, and I mean, from what Sunder said in the kind of the beginning, it's let's say let's bring up the 5v5 again, right? Like, is it just gonna be 5v5? You die first and the match is over, and then you queue another game, and it's like I would get extremely bored of that probably pretty quick. But then it's like, what is it going to be when it comes to like the combat system? What is it going to be when it comes to the casual play? What are the maps going to be? How long are the maps going to be? So that's probably like the biggest thing when you talk about, like, I do enjoy, my personal opinion, I do enjoy like these 20-25 minute matches, right? Because there's so many different things you can do. If you're not the sweaty sweat, right? You can go off and be a bard, and you need all these different things you can kind of do because you have all this time to kind of play around with. But again, if it's these quick kind of in and out matches, I've always kind of got deterred away from those kind of games because it's like it's so repetitive over and over. Like, how many times can you do this and it still be fun?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point with the replayability. And but speaking on replayability, I think it's a good time to put this out. The game is gonna have two kind of featured modes. It's actually not just gonna be a PvP game, but it also is gonna have a pretty extensive looking PvE mode that's maybe somehow in the vein of Warhammer Vermintide. But Sunder, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like you go into dungeons, you have a time limit of how long you can be in there, you kill mobs, monsters, try to get out with stuff, and then go in for harder mobs and monsters after. It's 4 player co op. I know that.
Yeah, I don't think we've really seen too much of it, so we don't really know the format. But uh, especially if you can like do local stuff with it, because one of my big concerns with the combat system is a lot of the precision might be lost online. Like if you can play like LAN, if you can play solo, you can probably do really insane cool challenge stuff if you're gonna like have custom challenge modes. Like you have like a Devil Daggers like mode where you're fighting an escalating horde of increasingly difficult monsters, different patterns, all sorts of crazy stuff. And it eventually gets hard enough that even like the best players will struggle. As well as like the extraction mode Strida described would be a lot of fun because it never hurts to just go like nobody's ever sad to run into a horde of mobs and slash 8 of them with a battle axe. Nobody will ever be sad to do that, especially if they get the hit feedback right. And it looks like they had good visual feedback on the hits.
Yeah, now what they showed of the PVE looks pretty cool. I'm not generally a PVE person, but I know games there are the co-op like extraction and I want to say dungeon games are quite popular. I played quite a bit of Dark and Darker, which is PvP with it, but I see a little bit of that in it from what they've shown so far.
Yeah, because I'm sure they'll also do more art passes because like you want those hits to be done right crunchy.
Yeah, they seem like I've noticed. It seems very impactful the hits in this game from what they've shown in their gameplay and stuff. Like you hit shit, it is gonna crunch, and body parts are gonna go flying, blood is gonna go spraying. So they might have they might pull in a little bit of its own audience here with the PVE.
That's also why I was more interested in the PvE than the PvP once I saw there was going to be fans. Also, I think the PvE can just be something basically distinct, but technically using the same characters, which is something they also emphasized a little bit by letting you upgrade your rage abilities and such. And depending on how persistent that is, if you're going to have like roguelike modes or like what structures for progression are you going to have? Are they going to be parallel? Like what PvE modes are you going to have? Like how much effort it's going to take to make those? Are you going to be able to mod more PvE modes in? Because like that can not just grab like the existing audience, that can grab more audiences, and like mods will grab more audiences beyond that, and doesn't
Yeah, no,
optimize
very true.
PvP all that much.
I don't know if they're gonna do modding or not. I don't think they mentioned anything on that. I would imagine we won't hear about something like that for quite a bit.
Yeah, probably.
Um, yeah. All right, gents. Does anyone else have anything anything to add or any topic before we head off here?
I'm excited. I mean, excited for something new to kind of come out. You know, eventually when it does come out, because I think everybody is craving the next best medieval slasher type of thing, and it's just unfortunately just not out there. Even with, you know, Bannerlord getting updates and all these other different like games like that. But I'm kind of excited because I think the medieval communities kind of need to change the
Yeah,
rhythm.
you're right. We someone needed to throw us a bone,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Someone needed to throw us a bone. I feel like we got tossed one here where we have something to be excited about.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, gentlemen. All right, much love for joining me, guys. All right, and gentlemen, again, we will have our next episode should be with Jairu in a few weeks here. So thank you for everyone joining and watching for this long, and peace out, guys.